Hello everyone, it's Olumayowa Victor Ogunshola from iDPS. iDPS means I diagnose and proffer solutions. Today we've got something very interesting for you in the field of business management. Are you a student? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you working in any organization in the world? Today's topic is very useful for you. Today I will be talking about management by objectives as well as management by exception. So today we will be talking about MBO and MBE. What do we mean by management by objectives? What do we mean by management by exception? If you come with me to the whiteboard, I'd like to show you the series of topics under this that we will be talking about today. Today we will look at the definition of the MBO, the principles of MBO, the process of MBO, the advantages of MBO, the disadvantages of MBO. By MBO, we mean management by objectives. And then we will look at the definition of MBE, definition of management by exception, the process of MBE, the advantages of MBE, and lastly, we would cap the video by talking to you guys about the differences, the major differences between management by objectives and management by exception. So, shall we start? The first thing, as you can see on there, is we're going to start by talking about the definition of management by objectives. So, let's give to this heading MBO, as you can see on there, management by objectives, okay, versus MBE, as you can see on there, management by exception. Okay, so what do we mean by management by objectives? Management by objectives can be defined as a process whereby there is a collaborative setting of the goals and objectives of the organization. I'll say that again, or I put that down, okay? Okay, is a process which allows the collaborative setting of an organization's goals and objectives. If you notice in this definition, we use the word collaborative, which means a lot of people are involved. It shows teamwork, okay? So collaborative here, it simply implies that the employees of the organizations are involved in the setting of the organization's goals and objectives. So when we talk about management by objectives, the goals and objectives of such organizations are not set just by the strategic management. Every member of the organization, every employee in the organization is involved in setting the goals and objectives for the organization. Of course, this then shows you that this would lead to, one, increased organizational effectiveness, okay? It leads to increased organizational effectiveness. It leads to improved organizational performance, MBO, yeah, improved organizational performance. As well, you can say that it allows, or it ensures rather, okay? It ensures there are no conflicts between organizational goals and the goals of the employees. So again, ladies and gentlemen, management by objectives, MBO, is a process which allows the collaborative setting of an organization's goals and objectives. Collaborative there means the employees, irrespective of their level in the organization, are part of the setting goals and objectives of the organization. They are part of the decision-making process of the organization, and then this leads to increased organizational effectiveness, this leads to improved organizational performance, and this ensures there are no conflicts between the goals of the organization and the goals of the employees. MBO, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the principles of MBO. So I can take this, that's done. Principles of MBO, yeah? Principles of management by objectives. Yeah? The first principle is that there is clarification of the organizational objectives. Yeah? Clarification of organizational objectives. The second principle is that the objectives, specific objectives, are set for the employees. Specific objectives are set for employees. The third principle of the management by organization. So if any organization tells you we practice the concept of MBO, I tell you in such organizations the employees take part in decision-making process. Yeah? Employees take part in decision-making process. The fourth principle there is that it happens over explicit time period. Explicit time period. And lastly, we have performance evaluation and feedback. Performance evaluation and feedback. So ladies and gentlemen, principles of MBO: clarification of organizational objectives, specific objectives are set for employees, pardon me please, employees take part in decision making process, explicit time period, performance evaluation and feedback. Principles of MBO. What do we talk about? That's done then. What do we talk about next? Process of MBO. What is the process involved when we talk about MBO? Let's do that in red. Process involved when we talk about MBO. Okay. Okay. Shall I take some parts of this off then? I like to take. You can rewind that part of the video if you want to see what I've just taken off just now. But I'd like to talk about that now. Process of MBO. Process of MBO. The first thing is that we set clear organization objectives. Yeah? Set clear organization objectives. Okay, once that is done, then second, we have to set specific targets for the employees. Set specific targets for employees. Once this is done, we have to monitor the performance of the employees. That has to be monitored, okay? Monitor performance of the employees or particular employee. Once that is done, we have to evaluate the performance of this employee. Have they delivered? Do they need to learn? Do they need to go for particular training? Okay. Evaluate. We evaluate. Evaluate performance of the employee. And once this is done, lastly, we give incentives based on performance, okay? Incentives based on performance. So ladies and gentlemen, process for MBO. What we've just seen on the board now is that we have here what it means, management by objectives. We have here the principles. Actually, I can say 5 principles, please. I can say 5 principles of MBO, and I can say 5 processes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, please, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 principles and 5 processes for MBO. That's done. Now let's look at the advantages and disadvantages, okay? Maybe I can put some advantages somewhere here. Then advantages, let's use green. Advantages of MBO, okay? Advantages of MBO. First advantage is that it is result oriented. In organizations where the concept of management by objectives are utilized, such organizations are result oriented organizations, I tell you, okay? Result oriented. I can tell you that management by objectives, as you can already see, promotes teamwork, okay? Promotes teamwork. Management by objectives. Resources are fully utilized. Resources are fully utilized. No time for waste. Resources are fully utilized. Is there something I can think of again? Result-oriented, promotes teamwork, resources are fully utilized. Okay, in terms of structure, organizational structure, it allows for the organization to have the right organizational structure. Okay, promotes right organizational structure. Okay, promotes right organizational structure. Advantages of MBO. Somewhere in the middle here, I would like to see if I can squeeze in disadvantages of MBO, please. Disadvantages of MBO, yeah? Let's see if we can just put that somewhere here. I bet we can. We can. Disadvantages of MBO. 1, okay? It can be costly. Okay? 2, it is not flexible. 3, MBO time. It takes a lot of time, okay? So it can be costly. It is time consuming. It's time consuming. And lastly, the philosophy of MBO needs to be brought into the organization. The culture of MBO needs to be, so the employees has to undergo some training, okay? And this can be a problem as well, okay? So failure to train employees. Okay, failure to train employees to cultivate the MBO culture. So this could be some disadvantages. So ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is a full short lecture about management by objectives. Management by objectives is a process which allows collaborative setting of the organization's goals and objectives. Everybody is involved in setting the goals and objectives. That leads to increased organizational performance. That leads to increased organizational effectiveness. That aligns the goals of the organization with the goals of the employees. Principles of MBO: clarification of organizational objectives, set objectives, specific objectives are set for employees, employees take part in the decision-making process, explicit time period, performance evaluation, and feedback. You have the process for MBO. We set clear organizational objectives, set specific targets for employees, we monitor performance of the employees, we evaluate performance of the employees, incentives based on performance of the employees. We have the advantages here: a result-oriented, teamwork is promoted, resources are well utilized, promotes the right structure for the organization. Disadvantages: it can be costly, it can be time-consuming to train the employees, so the culture of MBO can be complex, and lastly, it is not flexible. So MBO for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's go to MBE. I have to take this off now, please, and we go to MBE. MBE. If you want to see any part of the MBO lectures, please rewind. Thank you very much. So we start now by talking about the definition for management by exception. Management by exception. For management by exception, we say that this is a policy, okay? Management by exception is a policy, okay? It's a policy where senior management is a policy where senior management, okay, not everybody now, just senior management. The policy where senior management, I would use the word significantly is a policy where senior management significantly identifies specific situations in which the actual results differ from the planned results. Okay, so when we talk about management by exception, it's a policy where senior management significantly identifies specific situations where the actual results on ground differs from planned results, and that's the meaning for management by exception. Okay, so let's take what's been done here, please. Advantages of MBO that was done, disadvantages of MBO that was done, MBE definition that was done. Now let's talk about the process of MBE. Process of MBE. Process. I think I used the sharper one now. Process of MBE. Switch to a different color then. Process of MBE. The first process of MBE is that we identify and specify KRAs. We identify and specify KRAs. We identify and specify KRAs. By KRAs, I mean key result areas. So when we talk about management by exception, the first thing that has to happen is that we identify and specify key result areas. Pardon me there, please. The next point when we talk about process of MBE is that we set standards and outline permissible deviations. We set standards. We set standards and outline any permissible deviations. Okay, especially from the KRAs, the key result areas. Okay, and that's point number 2. Okay, process of MBE, point number 2. Point number 3, in terms of process for management by exception. Okay, we compare actual results with standards. Okay, we compare actual results with planned results. Yeah, with planned results. By planned results there, please, I mean standards. So we compare actual results with standards. Okay. The 4th process for MBE, as you can see here, is that we compute and analyze deviations. We compute and analyze any noticed deviation, and analyze any deviations. Okay. And the last thing we have to do there is that we have to strategize and take corrective measures. Okay, we have to strategize and take corrective measures. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's run through together the process of MBE. The process involved for management by exception. Remember, management by exception is only looking at situations where actual results differ from planned results. Okay? The process involved is that you identify and specify your key results areas. You set standards and outline any permitted deviations. You compare actual results with standards. You compare actual results with planned results. Okay? You compute and analyze any deviations, you note them down, and of course you strategize and take corrective measures. MBE, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what are the advantages? Of course, it has its own advantages. Let's do that in red, please. What are the advantages of MBE? I'd like to put that down here, please. Advantages, okay? Advantages, yeah? Advantages of MBE. I'm happy to tell you that it saves time. Management by exception, it does not involve every employee. It's just strategic management, noticing that this actual result differed from planned result. It saves time. It does not involve everyone. So it saves time. It saves time. What other advantage do we have for MBE? It helps us to identify critical problems. Identify critical problems. Obviously, once you see the actual result, it's not as we planned it. There's a red flag. There might be a problem. So it helps us to identify critical problems. Leads to effective decision making. The big boys are involved, the strategic management is involved, so effective decision making. Effective decision making. And lastly, we are able to fully utilize talent. Full utilization of talent. Full utilization of talents. And these are some of the advantages of management by exception. So we talked about the definition of MBE. We say it's a situation whereby senior management are able to identify where actual results differ from planned results. That's done. We talk about the process involved for MBE, and this is what we have here. I talked about it already. We identify and specify our key result areas. We set standards and outline permissible deviations. We compare actual results with planned results. We compute and analyze any noticed deviations. We strategize and take corrective measures. So that is done. Advantages of MBE: it saves time, identify critical problems, effective decision making is able to be achieved, and full utilization of talent. So that is done. Last part of this lecture would be what's the key difference between MBO and MBE. So I take all of this off. You can rewind any part of the video to listen to what I said about MBE or MBO. So now we talk about the differences between MBE and MBO in terms of employee participation, in terms of responsibility ambiguity, in terms of decision making, and in terms of who it is appropriate for. So I think I better do this by dividing by that. So in terms of employee participation, employee participation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you listen to what I said earlier in the video, in MBO management by objectives, you see that employee participation is high. And for MBE, I said it's about strategic management, and so employee participation is low. In terms of decision making, okay? Employee participation with decision making, again here, employee participation is high because everybody is involved in setting the goals and objectives of the organization. But for MBE here, it's low as well. Only strategic managers are involved. In terms of responsibility ambiguity, responsibility ambiguity, yeah? For the management by objectives, the roles and responsibilities of the employees are clear, okay? Clear roles and responsibilities, okay? But for MBE, can be not clear, or we say responsibility ambiguity takes place, yeah? Responsibility ambiguity can occur, okay? And then lastly, in terms of appropriateness, okay? MBO appropriateness, yeah? MBO is appropriate for experienced managers, yeah? MBO is appropriate for experienced managers, okay? While MBE is appropriate for experienced executives. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I end the lecture, YouTube lecture, telling you what it means management by objectives, what it means management by exception, principles of management by objectives, process of management by objectives, advantages and disadvantages of management by objectives, what it means management by exception, process of management by exception, advantages of management by exception, and finally, the main difference between management by objectives and management by exception. Maybe we have something more on the slide that I have here. As you can see, MBO is a philosophy of decentralization. Decentralization means it's not just about the people at the top. Everybody is involved, okay? MBO. And you can say it helps in setting their goals. So the employees' goals, the goals of the employees and the goals of the organization are well aligned, okay? It needs time. Somewhere there when I talked about the disadvantage of MBO, I mentioned that it is time consuming. And for management by exception, you can see that we said less time is required. Report exceptions to the top executives. I said here it's about executives, okay? Here it's about managers. And it says control technique. So for management by exception, it's control technique used by the strategic management, okay? To monitor and control every aspect of the organization. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Management by objectives versus management by exception. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. So if you have indeed enjoyed this lecture, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, or please give us feedback on what you think we can improve by sending us an email at info@idpsconsult.com. That's info@idpsconsult.com, or you can go to the website www.idpsconsult.com and send us an email on how we can serve you better. Remember, at iDPS, we are trying to educate the world. The education is important, and we are trying to educate the world all at a free cost. Okay? We're not expecting any money from anyone. We're doing this for students all over the world, and we're doing this for entrepreneurs as well as business professionals all over the world. Thank you. You know that I will not go until I talk about my passion, and my passion is that Africa must develop. So are you an African anywhere in the world? Please keep doing something to promote the development of the African continent, and please keep doing everything to make sure that Africa must be united. Africa must develop. This is where it comes to an end. So in the English language, I say thank you. In Dutch language, I say dank u wel. In Yoruba language from Nigeria, West Africa, I say ẹ ṣé o. Bye.